love to say I want to play in the big leagues next year, but I just want to be available for all 140 games. I know that if I'm available, my play will be able to do the talking.
Welcome to episode 305 of Alberta Dugout Stories, the podcast. I'm Joe McFarland. First off, happy Halloween if you're listening on the day this episode drops. Also, congratulations to the Los Angeles Dodgers on winning the 2024 World Series with a 7-6 win over the New York Yankees last night to win it all in 5 games. Freddie Freeman was named World Series MVP after an outstanding performance, including home runs in each of the first 4 games. Now, the Dodgers have some history here in Alberta, as their Pioneer League affiliate, the Lethbridge Dodgers, were here from 1977 to 1983, winning league championships in 77, 79, and 80. If you head to albertadugoutstories.com, we've pinned our Dodgers all-time team story to the top of the site with players like Candy Maldonado, Greg Brock, Mike Marshall, and Sid Fernandez all making their way through. Again, congratulations to the Los Angeles Dodgers. The big news in Alberta and Saskatchewan this week dropping on Wednesday as the Western Canadian Baseball League has unveiled its schedule for the 2025 season. Opening day is set for Wednesday, May 28th when the Medicine Hat Mavericks host the Okotoks Dogs. Most teams will have their home openers within the first week of the regular season. New this year will be the WCBL Rural Roots game, and I'm stoked for this. It's set for June 8th between the Sylvan Lake Gulls and Lethbridge Bulls in Oyen. That community has some history for the league, with the Oyen Pronghorns dating back to the SMBL days, and great to make the connection with Badlands Academy out there as well. The All-Star game is set for July 19th in Okotoks, and the final day of the regular season goes August 4th. You can head to our website, albertadugoutstories.com, for more on the schedule. Ballpark Digest is out with its annual summer collegiate attendance numbers. The Okotoks Dogs rank number 3 in all of North America, with over 133,000 fans coming through the turnstiles this past summer. The Sylvan Lake Gulls and Medicine Hat Mavericks also cracked the top 75. The West Coast League's Edmonton Riverhawks were number 4 in North America, with over 116,000 fans attending games. You can see our full rundown on our website. Baseball in Alberta has started rolling out a few awards ahead of the November 23rd banquet in Edmonton. The provincial hosts of the year were unveiled on Tuesday, while Fort McMurray's Dion Barry was named Grassroots Coach of the Year on Wednesday. More is likely to come in the weeks ahead, so stay tuned to the Baseball Alberta socials. And as always, we'll have full coverage of all the awards after the big event. We haven't checked in on the Canadian College Baseball Conference during the fall, but a few games have been had in recent weeks. For the most part, teams have been focusing on their own intra-squad World Series tournaments and recruiting for the coming spring. Make sure to follow us on social as well as the team pages for Prairie Baseball Academy, the University of Calgary Dinos, and Edmonton Collegiate Hawks for more. Speaking of college, some big recruitment announcements in the last few weeks. A shout out to Dogs Academy product and episode 300 guest Quincy Jenkins on announcing his commitment to the University of Michigan. 2 of our guests this week have also had recent commitments. We'll start at Vauxhall Academy, where pitcher Hudson Kozicki has announced he'll be heading to the University of Mary. The Sherwood Park native has had eyes on him for a while now, and most recently pitched for Alberta at the Baseball Canada Cup in Fort McMurray. Hudson, thanks so much for joining us here on the show.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
Speaking of excitement, how excited are you to get things going with the University of Mary?
Yeah, great question. I'm super excited. I went down on a visit a few weeks ago here and had a great time, and their coaching staff has a lot of good stuff going on. And obviously we have a few alumni from Vauxhall that are there already and heard nothing but good things. So I'm super excited to kind of work to train and get down there this fall or this next fall.
When you were scouting schools, did you have a checklist in mind of the things that you wanted to see out of a potential program?
Yeah, for sure. My first goal, I told this to every school that I talked to, was that I want to play baseball as long as I can. And Mary's answer to that and their side of development was the perfect answer for me. And then the backup of that was school is really important for me. And my plan post baseball is to go into business and then law. And getting to meet their dean of business and check their program out, it seemed like a perfect match.
You mentioned being able to tap into some of the resources and some of the guys that have been there before from Vauxhall. What kinds of questions do you end up asking them in that process to make sure you're making the right choice for you?
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, you get their kind of opinion on the program, the baseball program, and the coaching staff, and kind of their thoughts on the compete level there and all that. And then obviously kind of the more fun college stuff, like what's kind of the campus life and looking like, what's the other school sports looking like, is there much like school spirit, and yeah, just getting kind of know from them, especially because we had some guys that have been at Mary for the last 4 years now. They kind of summed it up for me good, and yeah, it seemed like a perfect match again.
You mentioned business, you mentioned law. Why those two particular facets of education?
Yeah, so my dad practices law, and growing up I kind of always was at the office with them and kind of going under his wing, and since I was a little kid I was always like, yeah, I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna come and swoop under you and take and kind of work underneath you, and that's my plan. So it was always my dad's kind of following in my dad's footsteps kind of inspiration there.
Very cool. As far as the on-field product is concerned, do you have any goals or aspirations of yourself heading into school next year?
Yeah. Physically, I want to get bigger. I want to get stronger, and I want to put myself in the best position to play once I get down there day one. And I think I do have a list of goals here on the weight room side of things, and I'm hoping to hit those. And hopefully throughout this spring, I can develop a little more on the pitchability side. I'm working on a third pitch on a splitter currently, and hopefully that can get developed throughout the spring, and I'll be good to go with 3 solid pitches, hopefully.
You're coming off a busy summer, busy spring as well, because Vauxhall's never quiet by any stretch. But talk about repping Baseball Alberta at the Canada Cup in Fort Mac. What was that experience like for you?
Oh, it was amazing. It was an honor. I always growing up, I remember watching all the Team Alberta teams come up, and that was always a huge goal of mine, and especially getting to do it with guys that I've played with and played against the last forever since I was a little kid starting baseball. It was a really cool experience, and just how it was interesting to see how quickly that team could bond, especially because we're all coming from different areas of Alberta, and some guys never had met before. And it seemed like almost as soon as we got into our first practice and got on the bus on the way down to Fort Mac, it was already a big, like, a unity. It was already united as a team.
Very cool. On the feel side of things, what's it like walking into the dressing room the first time or getting into the dugout and seeing that Baseball Alberta hat and the Baseball Alberta jersey and knowing, hey, I get to rep this for the next few days here?
Yeah, it was really cool, and it was an honor again to see that, especially with it being the inaugural year of the rebranding of the Bighorns. It was really cool to be a part of that first year of that, and just sharing that feeling of getting into the dugout and seeing all the gear laid out with all the boys. It was special. It was really awesome.
In the dugout as that tournament's going on, do you develop a bit of an identity as a team, and walk us through sort of the mindset? Because you said you guys gelled really fast, so I assume there had to have been some sort of motivating factor behind that a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. I think coming in, all of us had really high expectations to begin with, and we all knew kind of the talents that our team possessed, and we, on the hitting side of it especially, we looked like to be a super athletic team. So we were really trying to embrace that kind of gritty baseball that Alberta usually represents, and that, like, I'm willing to get down and dirty and lay out for anything, and we all kind of embraced that right away, and looked to kind of show that off throughout the tournament. And we ended up kind of we were in a lot of close games early, and I thought we battled really well through all of them.
On a personal level, did you take anything away from that tournament? I mean, it's one thing to put your skills on display, but did you learn anything on the education piece or soaking anything in that kind of stands out for you?
Yeah, for sure. I really tried to soak in. Well, obviously going down there, the atmosphere was insane in the field. Like, getting to play there, like we played the night game against Manitoba and PEI, and both of those games were electric, and it was a really cool experience. And I kind of just tried to soak in being in the moment, and not trying to let that get ahead of me too much. And I think that me, and as well as like the whole team, did a really good job of that, and kind of staying centered, which was a huge thing with our team, because especially with the crowds we were getting being the home team, it's easy to get distracted.
Absolutely. You mentioned the fact that you want to get stronger and you're working on a third pitch. And so that kind of answers the question about what you're looking to work on in the winter. But I'm curious, from a development standpoint, when you're working on a pitch, how challenging is it to make sure that you don't get too far ahead of yourself in terms of like getting frustrated if a pitch isn't quite hitting the way you want it to, for example? Like, what's the key to making sure that you can develop a pitch in a timely fashion, but also be patient with it at the same time?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I can kind of relate to that one really good going back the last few years, because I've always been a really good. I spin it pretty well like a curveball, but I had no ability to throw a changeup ever. So my that was my kind of whole problem, is I would get really down on myself, and I would start switching grips in the middle of the spring, and I would just never find something that could stick. And then I was lucky enough when I was down with Team Alberta, Phil Curtis, one of our coaches, actually showed me his all splitter grip, and it felt really good out the hand, and it felt like I didn't have to worry about too much about getting around it or anything, which I had to do with changes before. And I thought this is something that I can kind of pursue, but I would like to take it slow. So I really didn't start throwing it in game till about the last week or week and a half of our fall here at Vauxhall. And even then I'm just trying to still just fine tune it, and especially that's priority number one here going into this. Once I start throwing again in this winter, is I'm just going to try to take it slow and get that pitch design and kind of feel where I should be throwing it and where I need to be throwing it against hitters, and kind of getting that down pat before I worry too much about the in-game aspect.
It's kind of nuts to me too. I've seen videos of like how the littlest of tells can tip a batter into what you're about to throw. So how much of that goes into your game planning with a pitch like that when you're developing something new? Like you got to make sure that you're kind of holding the glove and the ball in the same spot, even though you're working on a different grip kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely a tough one, but I like to, especially when I'm getting to learn new pitches, and even my old pitches, I'll sit wherever I am. If I'm in class or if I'm in my bed or anything, I'll just be rotating through my grips constantly throughout the day, or pregame. I'll be rotating through my grips and make sure that I can kind of get there at the timely matter without moving my body around too much and giving too much away. So that's kind of been my process since I was a little kid. I've always just played through my grips and try to get comfortable with them as soon as I can.
Man, I could get into the mindset stuff for a long, long time, but I'm also cognizant of time. So moving on here, Hudson, let's get into your baseball past a little bit here. You're originally from Sherwood Park. How'd you get into the game in the first place?
Originally, well, I always grew up with hockey. I grew up around hockey, and yeah, hockey's just Sherwood Park's a big hockey town. And so I never really was introduced to baseball till I was pretty young, so I was probably about 6 or 7, and my brother played it for 1 year, and I absolutely hated it, but I absolutely loved being around the diamond and getting to watch him, and I just enjoyed being around it. And so then I started playing when I was a little kid, and starting out in blaster ball, I was way overly competitive. There's no outs in blaster ball or whatever they called it, so it's just you hit and you run, and I'd be getting all angry because I'd be yelling at kids at their out, and then all the coaches had to come tell me, oh, there's no outs, Hudson. And so that's kind of where that passion sparked. And then I was fortunate enough that Sherwood Park let me come up as an underage kid to come play into some actual baseball in Mosquito, and from there on the passion kind of sparked, and yeah, I just haven't really looked back since.
Whose poster was up on the wall when you were growing up?
Oh, I absolutely loved, especially being the Athletics in Sherwood Park growing up. I used to love Sonny Gray when he was with the Athletics, which is an odd pick because it's kind of like no one really expects that from a 8-year-old kid saying Sonny Gray and not Kershaw at that time. So yeah, Sonny Gray was the guy.
That's very cool. Now you end up going from Sherwood Park to Vauxhall eventually. What's that academy meant to you in your development, not just as a ball player, but also as a human being? Because I know they have such a big impact that way.
Yeah, it means everything. I mean, it's totally changed my way of how I kind of go about life and go about everything. Because getting down here, especially coming down as a 10th grader and not even being 15 yet, or not even being 16 yet. I mean, yeah, it was a struggle at first. I kind of forgot. I getting down here and being in the dorms. I was like, oh wow, it's a big sleepover here. So I was staying up late, and I wasn't kind of getting my work done that I needed to get done, and that kind of wake up call of okay, and now you're on your own. You kind of got to become an adult a little bit, while having the aspect of the coaches and our dorm mom Lisa. She has a great job, and all our teammates being around to help us. But it gives you that extra push to kind of mature a little bit, and on and off the field, and it makes you kind of shows you need to do everything at your best.
Mm-hmm. You've had a lot of guys around you who've gone on to bigger and better things, and guys who keep coming back. I mean, whether you look at a guy like Adam Macco or Damiano Palmigiani, all those guys that have those connections. What's that like as a player, knowing that there's a future beyond the halls of Vauxhall?
Yeah, for sure. It's super inspiring, and I mean, we've had tons of very successful guys from our program come and talk to us. I mean, my grade 10 year, we had Josh Bergman, who's now with the Prairie Baseball Academy in Lethbridge. He was our coach that year, and just getting to see his side of the pitching perspective was really cool and really interesting. And yeah, obviously Matko and Damiano, we've had FaceTime calls with them, and Garrett Hawkins, and just kind of getting their mindsets and kind of how they translated their game here into the next level, and just getting to learn that from them, and kind of seeing the way that they went about their work really, really inspires you and shows you that if you give if you give the work in here, it's gonna come out. Good things will happen.
Absolutely. Looking back on the young career to this point, do you have any favorite memories or moments where you just had to take that step back and go, man, I can't believe that just happened?
Yeah, I mean, my grade 10 year was pretty special. We had a really good team, and kind of just going through kind of our kind of what we accomplished that year was going into our second weekend of baseball. We went down to the Bishop Gorman tournament in Vegas, and game one of the tournament, we played a school called Archbishop Moeller from Ohio, and they were ranked, I think, 9 or 10 in the nation at that point for high schools on perfect game. And getting the win against them was pretty cool. And we were a night game, so that was pretty electric. And obviously winning Best of the West that year was special because that's a tournament you hear about growing up all the way as a kid, and especially it being the kind of historic Battle of Alberta final, us and Dogs. It was a really cool experience, and that's definitely the number one highlight.
Absolutely. On the flip side of that, we all know baseball's a game of failure. So looking back on it, what's been that biggest challenge or the biggest hurdle you've had to overcome?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge I had to overcome, especially being when I was younger in my grade 10 year and grade 11 year, was that mental side of the game. I would either let it speed up on me too much, or I would dwell too much on the past. And I worked a lot with our coaching staff, and all my past teammates helped me so much with it, and just kind of finding that even level ground. And I think that's helped me a lot throughout the last little bit here. Once I kind of learned that, I think the mental role is super undervalued in baseball, and it plays a huge aspect of the game.
Absolutely does. A few fun ones for you here, Hudson. What's your favorite ballpark food when you're going as a fan?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't think you can't go wrong with just a ballpark hot dog. It never disappoints really.
Very true. Now, what is on that hot dog?
Oh, you gotta go ketchup, mustard, relish,
Oh, you're
and then
going with all three. That's a bold choice.
onions if you want, if you're feeling it that day.
Depends on how stinky you want your breath to be, right?
Yeah, exactly. Depends if you're on a date or not.
Very, very true. Your ultimate walk-in tune if you're coming in as a closer, a la Enter Sandman, Mariano Rivera.
Ooh, that's a good one. I would say one of my teammates last year kind of put me on this, but it's "Icky Thump" by the White Stripes. I think in a packed crowd, it would get all the people, everyone going.
Absolutely. A couple more for you here, Hudson, before we let you go. Let's say you get to talk to those kids who are just starting out at Vauxhall and they want to get to where you're at now. What are your go-to words of advice or those words of wisdom that you like to impart upon them?
Yeah, I would say just take it as slow as possible because it moves so fast while you're here. Like, I think that just kind of getting in the whole atmosphere here and just really take it in and learn as much as you can and yeah, and just really take it day by day and do everything with just like a meticulous brain and just kind of and really just simplify it kind of and just slow down and do everything to the best you can because 3 years, especially coming as a grade 10, 3 years seems like a long time, but it felt really fast. So you got to take it as slow as you can.
Absolutely. And the final one we ask everybody here on the show, what does a game of baseball mean to you?
Yeah, that's a great question. The game of baseball means everything to me. I mean, I've been playing it for so long now, and there's yet to be a dull moment. I mean, every day is exciting going in and getting the work in, and the people I've met and the memories I've made have shaped me really into who I am today. And I can still remember just waiting every day on my doorstep for my dad to get home just to throw when I was a little kid, and moments like that are just unforgettable to me. So I think just being around baseball and getting to make those moments is really special, and that's kind of what I live for.
It's been really special getting a chance to hear a little bit of your story, Hudson. Really appreciate the time. Congrats on all the success. Congrats on the commitment to you, Mary. Best of luck this fall, this winter, and beyond. And again, thanks so much for joining us here on the show.
Thank you so much for your time and having me, and thank you so much.
Next up is Neutral Hills Academy product and current Badlands Academy hurler Braxton Bussing. The southpaw from Coronation was a teammate of Kozicki's at the Baseball Canada Cup this summer, and he'll be heading to Minot State in about a year's time. Braxton, thanks so much for joining us here on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Congrats first off on the commitment to Minot State. How excited are you to get things going there in about a year's time?
Yeah, I'm super pumped. It's a great school down there. Ready to get going.
What was it about Minot that made you go, hey, I got to go and continue this baseball journey there?
I think that's a really good conference. And then also I'm only 10 hours away, so just a quick little drive down there. and the school is really good. All the education transfers really well to Alberta. Makes it easier.
When you're going through the different options and schools that were available to you, did you have a bit of a checklist or things that you had that you were like, I need to make sure the school has this if I'm going to go there?
Yeah, I didn't have too much as I committed kind of early, so I, yeah, just the school was the main part, and yeah.
So speaking of the school part, what are you hoping to take?
I think I'm gonna go down the road of physical education. See where that goes, kind of.
Very cool. You got like an education desired background some point down the road, or what's
Yeah,
your mindset going into that?
yeah. My mom's a teacher, so that I might have persuaded a bit, but
It's funny how your parents can sometimes have a bit of a sway on that. That's very cool. Now, obviously, you're coming off a pretty busy year, including repping Alberta at the Baseball Canada Cup. What was that experience like for you?
oh, that was awesome. Just being around all those guys and coaches, and yeah.
Take us into your mind for a minute here. What's it like seeing your jersey and the A on the ball cap for the first time?
It was pretty cool just being able to represent your province even. Like it's pretty special. Not a lot of people get to do that.
What did it mean to you to rep Alberta looking back on it, especially being able to do it on home turf like you did in Fort Mac?
Yeah, it was cool. I had lots of family there to watch me play, so that was really cool.
What was your biggest takeaway, maybe personally, from that tournament?
I think just being able to go and compete really. It was a long week. It was tough. We were busy, lots of sitting around, so kind of wore you down. But just being able to go and compete really.
Looking back on it, how happy were you with your personal performance?
I felt like I could have pitched better, but I don't know. It was a long week, like I said. Just fighting through. I got to take away from it that I can do better than that. So
How much of it is a bit of a learning experience too, in the sense of these are some of the best players across Canada. So I can play with them, but B, I know what I got to do to be better for next time around.
yeah, I mean, just kind of makes you feel like you can do better. So just working towards that, and yeah.
Mhm. Speaking of the work side of things, what are you hoping to work on? I know you're at Badlands. We'll get to that in a second, but what kinds of things are you hoping to work on over the next year or so? Not just so you can better prepare for whatever might be down the road next summer, but also looking ahead to Minot as well.
Uh, Me, it's just gaining weight for sure. I'm kind of small right now, and I'm young, so just getting stronger in the weight room and putting on weight. That'll help me in the long run.
For sure. Let's get into your baseball past a little bit here, Braxton. You're the product of Coronation, Alberta. How did you get into the baseball in the first place?
I played there until my last year of 15U. Coaches there were lots of fun. That's what got me into the game was the fun of it, really.
I assume being a small town kid, you probably played a few sports growing up.
Yeah, yeah. Baseball and hockey were the main one. This is the first year I had to quit hockey, so
What was that decision like for you? I know everybody kind of goes through and ponders it and that kind of stuff. Was it a difficult choice for you?
yeah, it's pretty tough. But I think it'd be easier to focus on baseball when I only have one sport now.
Looking at when you're a kid, whose poster was up on your bedroom wall?
I had Ryan Nugent Hopkins, big Oilers fan, and then I was mainly a big hockey fan growing up, and that was it.
On the baseball side of things, is there anybody that you try to mold your game after, guys that you look up to?
I like Kershaw obviously because he's a lefty like me, so
It's not a bad one to look up to for sure. Looking back on the young career in baseball to this point, do you have any favorite memories or moments where you had to take that step back and go, man, I can't believe I get to do this?
in 15U I got picked up to go to Westerns, and then with Stetler, and we won, so that was a pretty cool moment. And then as well, just playing for Team Alberta, that's always special.
Absolutely. As mentioned, you're at Badlands now, but you went over to Neutral Hills first. What was that program like for you, and what did it mean to you in your development, not just as a ball player, but obviously as a human being as well?
It was really close to where I live, so it was lots of fun. Like all my friends go there. Helped me develop as I was pretty small going into grade 10, throwing about like 70. So helped me develop when I was that size.
On the flip side, now you're over at, as mentioned, Badlands. What are you hoping to get out of that experience over the next year or so?
I'm pretty excited for our spring. We're going to Best of the West, so that'll be a good tournament. And yeah, I hope to face some college hitting in the summer. So hopefully I can prepare myself for Minot.
For sure. On the flip side, we all know baseball is a game of failure. So what's been maybe the biggest challenge or hurdle you've had to overcome over your young career?
I'd say being injured. That's always tough when you know you can go out there and play, but you just can't. That's the hardest part.
What kinds of injuries have you had to deal with?
I'd say I've had a few in my arm, and then just like my hip, and not being able to physically do what you know you can. That's frustrating.
For those who deal with injuries, what would you say is the biggest piece of advice that you'd offer to those kids who maybe are dealing with that injury for the first time?
I'd say don't rush into it. You always get your chance. Everyone gets injured. It happens in sports. Just the way you take care of yourself after moving forward.
Absolutely. A few fun ones for you here, Braxton. First off, what is your favorite ballpark food when you're there as a fan?
I love to have a bag of popcorn watching a game.
Do you put a certain seasoning salt or anything on it, or is it just straight up butter?
A little butter is good.
That's fantastic. Any game day routines or superstitions?
Not necessarily. If I do something and it kind of works, I'll maybe try to do it again, but nothing too particular.
Let's say you get the closer treatment, you get the walk-in tune like Mariano Rivera used to with Enter Sandman as an example. What's the music that you want to walk in with?
I'm definitely going with some Metallica as well. Fire's up pretty good.
I salute you on that one. A couple more for you before we let you go here, Braxton. First off, when it comes to those young kids who are maybe starting out at Neutral Hills or maybe they're at Badlands and they're looking to you and going, hey, I want to commit to a school or want to get to where you're at now, what's that one piece of advice, those words of wisdom that you like to impart upon the young ones who are just starting out?
I'd say have fun. That's the biggest part. It's still a game, and you're not going to go very far if you don't like it or not have fun doing it.
Great advice indeed. And finally, the last one we ask everybody, what's the game of baseball mean to you, Braxton?
It means a lot. That's all I do. That's what I live for now. So.
And you get to do it for a little while longer still with Minot. Again, Braxton, congratulations on the commitment. Congrats on all the success to this point, continued success at Badlands and beyond. And again, thank you so much for joining us here on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me out.
And finally, we head to the pro ranks to catch up with Dogs Academy alum Jack Lyons. He suited up for Dogs Black in the COVID-abbreviated 2021 season, then went to Florida to play for TNXL Academy. He was originally set to go to Florida State, but had his name called in the 12th round of this summer's MLB draft by the Tampa Bay Rays. So he's going to be staying in the sunny South for a while longer, and he's training there now with roommate and fellow Albertan Nathan Flewelling.
Jack, thanks so much for joining us here on the show.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me.
Take us back to draft day, or those 3 days worth of draft. First off, were you watching and were you expecting to maybe get your name called at some point during those 3 days in July?
Yeah, it was kind of a weird spring, right? So I was coming off some injury, and I kind of had an up and down spring for sure, but there was definitely a good chance that I was going to hear my name called. Probably wasn't going day one. Day two, we ended up making a deal. So there was a little bit of me knowing, but you never know, man. There's a lot of good players, right? So I was just in Okotoks. I was just my family, trying to keep your mind off it. A lot of people are texting you, why haven't you been picked, that type stuff. So, I was just there with my family, and I was fortunate fortunate enough to get the opportunity.
Did you know it was going to be Tampa? And if not, what were some of the other teams that might have been kicking tires?
Yeah, so I think we had about 13 teams that were green light draft day. I definitely thought Tampa was going to be towards the top of the group. There's a few, but Tampa definitely had close tabs on me. I had a great relationship with my area scout down in Florida, so I kind of expected that if there was going to be a team that get me, it would be them. But you never know, right? There's a lot of teams in, but that was just the deal that we came to.
Very cool.
You know,
I know you spent couple of years in Florida, so how cool was it to have that kind of connection and be able to have a bit of a rapport with the team before even having your name heard?
Yeah, it was cool. My family that I was staying with are huge Tampa Bay Rays fans, so one of the first places they ever took me was to Tropicana Field to watch the Yankees back in, would have been September of 22. So that was, kind of my first gig down there. The Rays are loved throughout Central Florida, especially. So kind of being in their backyard was, it was great because, they had a lot of people from the front office, but, it's like the hometown team. So that was definitely cool.
What goes through your mind when you either get that phone call or you see your name up on the board like it happened?
Yeah, I think I'm just thankful for the opportunity. That's all I could really ask for, and that's all I really wanted. So I'm just thankful that I got to go to a great organization, and I got a lot of great people that have worked beside me and are working for me in that process. So I'm just thankful that we were able to come to a deal that is best for both sides, and I think it's best for me. So it was definitely a blessing.
I know you said that you were spending time with your family. Who shed the most tears when they saw your name on the board?
No, I don't know. I think it's a combination of both my mom and my dad. I'm thankful for who they've been in my life, but they gave me up at a earlier stage than they probably thought. So they've been with me the whole way, and they just wanted me to go where it was best for me, and we definitely found that. So I think that was very sound for them.
Mm-hmm. Looking ahead then, and everybody I talked to after draft day, it's a bit of a whirlwind because you're going from here to there and everywhere. What was it like for Jack Lyons?
Yeah, so my area scout and Chuck Ritchie, a couple of these guys, they phoned me a couple minutes after I was picked. Basically just said, get yourself ready. I was down to Tampa 4 days later to sign at the Trop, and I signed 5 o'clock at night, and I was down at the complex at 6 a.m. the next day getting to work. So it's definitely a glorious couple hours, but it's right to work. It's right to getting on the field, that type stuff. Living the dream type thing. So it's pretty quick turnaround.
So from a playing perspective, what all have you been up to? Has it been mostly just the strength and conditioning stuff? Did you get any inter-squad games? Walk us through what the last few months have been like on the field.
Yeah, so we played in this thing called the Bridge League, which was a lot of the returning. There's a couple complex league guys, but a lot of rehab and our draft class. So our whole lineup was just draft class kids, and then some of the older college guys ended up going to affiliates, but we basically played probably 20-ish games in the Bridge League from middle of August to the end of September. So about 2 to 3 games a week, and then we had these things called camp days, so that's just regular practice days, which is, your individualized work, weightlifting type stuff. So we were doing that from August to September, had a 3-week break, and then came back here and did that, or doing this camp right now.
So looking ahead, putting the crystal ball in front of you for a minute, do you have any expectations of yourself or goals heading into 2025?
Yeah, I haven't really come to terms with exactly what my goals are. I think obviously I want to. I'm big on just focusing, one day at a time. So, going to have some meetings with some of our coordinators, and there'll be a better outlook for maybe what's realistic. I'd love to say I want to play in the big leagues next year, but I just want to be available for all 140 games. I know that if I'm available, I'll my play will be able to do the talking. So I'm I want to play at the affiliates next year, but whatever's best for me, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon, right? So just taking that kind of perspective.
For sure. Looking back on the drafting for one more question here. How cool was it to have a bunch of different guys that you've probably played with in the past, especially Canadians? You look at that list, there's a few Dogs guys, there's a few different players with Alberta connections that you've probably crossed paths with. How cool was it to be able to share in that moment with a few familiar faces?
Oh, it was definitely cool. I mean, I'm not one person to kind of snoop on, who's talking to what teams, but you see the guys come off the board, and you're happy for those guys, and it's cool. Like you're gonna see guys like Eric Hartman, when we play the Braves, and then like my roommate's Nathan Flewelling. So some of those guys, like I'd actually never really met. Like I never met Flew. Until I got to Tampa Bay. I had known Eric since I was a little younger. I played with Max. It's super cool. You build kind of a branch of guys, and it's definitely great for Canadians to see there's more opportunity up there, and more kids are getting looks, especially out of high school.
How cool has it been to be able to roommate with Flew?
It's been great. I think we share a common interest, or we have a lot of people that we know people through and played with or against. So we kind of reminisce on that. It's a lot of fun. It feels a little bit more like home, and I think you could say the same for him. But it's definitely cool.
Absolutely. Let's get in your baseball past here a little bit, Jack. Product of Okotoks. How did you get into the game in the first place?
How did I get in the game, did you say?
Mm-hmm.
I lived in Wichita, Kansas, so that's where I first learned how to play baseball, and then I ended up moving to Okotoks. My dad had a job opportunity with Cargill on High River. So we came back, and I was really into hockey at the time, right? But Jordan Procession, that was right when he had a tryout. I think it was the Royals, so he was just coming back from Kansas City, and we were flying out to Calgary from Kansas City to look at our new house. So he was the one, like his parents, he wouldn't remember this, but we certainly do. They mentioned how there was this big stadium, there was a very good college summer ball team there, and that's kind of how we first learned about the Dogs. And I was too young to play for the Dogs at the time, but they had camps, and I went from being able to play outside all year round to being like, how do I play baseball in the winter time, or like at least get some reps? And there was a great facility, and the Dogs, and I went to a few camps, and it kind of took off from there. I had a really good relationship with Alan Cox before he left, and that's where I first met him, at that just kind of a Sunday kids camp type thing, hitting wiffle balls. It was kind of where it all took off. And then I was there for, I think I played for the Dogs for 8 or 9 years, pretty significant amount of time. And then I ended up moving to Florida, and then I went to Team XL last 2 years, and that's where I spent my high school.
Do you remember the moment where it kind of flipped for you, where it was like, hey, this is a fun game, I really like it too, hey, maybe there's something here, like maybe I can chase this baseball thing?
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I think I definitely was a competitive kid, so I expected myself to do well, and I played hockey and baseball growing up, so I think really in COVID, I had to put down hockey just because you weren't allowed to play two sports. and I always loved baseball, but I always loved hockey too. And I started to get some college interest, and that's when I kind of realized that, there's a real opportunity to do something. And it was always I wanted to take care of my family financially, and that was just the best route. And I love baseball more than I like hockey. So I think probably around 14, 15 years old is when it kind of took off for me. You try not to get too serious. It's a kid's game, but that's right around when I had some realization that I might be able to make a go of this, and that was kind of it.
Mm-hmm. Whose poster was up on your wall when you were growing up?
I was a big Kansas City Royals fan, so I really like watching Sal Perez, Eric Hosberg, Dee Gordon. These are some older guys. I really like Bobby Witt now. I wouldn't say I really had I don't really have any idols, but I never really had a baseball idol. I really liked Joe Mauer. I lived in Minneapolis for a time, so never really someone that I could model my game exactly off of. But I was a huge Royals fan. I was fortunate enough to live there, when they had some struggles, and then, early 2010s when they started to get really good. So those are some of the guys. I like watching whoever. I wouldn't say I had really a poster, but, I was thankful to be able to watch winning baseball and kind of be around it in the same state.
Looking back on it, I know you've done a lot in the game. Do you have a particular moment where you kind of had to take that step back on the field and go, man, I can't believe I get to do this, like a favorite moment in your baseball career to this point?
I think it was probably my final high school game in Atlanta. We got to play at one of the complexes down there, and it was pretty emotional. Like I kind of cried my eyes out. I just appreciated my friends that I had made and the coaches, and for me it was kind of the last time before I would either be playing at Florida State or pro ball, and you just never really expect that you're going to have the opportunity to do that stuff. I go out there because I love to play the game, and I really like the group of guys I was with this last year, so that was kind of my full circle moment. We were fortunate enough to win our league, but I hate to lose, but you just you're not going to remember the trophy. You're going to remember the guys you're with, and I had a great coach and just a great group of people that believed in me. So that was my full circle moment for sure.
Very cool. On the flip side of that, we know baseball is a game of failure. So looking back on it, what's been maybe the biggest challenge or hurdle that you've had to overcome?
I think just injury for sure. I think that's my biggest goal going in this year, being available every day. Kind of the last, kind of throughout high school, it was just little injuries, but kind of haggard me and hurt me last year on the summer circuit. I had a hamstring injury that sidelined me from, getting to go out to play at, all these school events. So I think that's just the biggest challenge for me. And, you got to take care of what you eat and how you work out. So I think that's a good challenge for me. And, I'm going to put that stuff behind me. But I think that's just, the biggest hurdle that I have to overcome. And, I'm excited. I have a good group of people working for me, and
Absolutely. A couple more for you, Jack, before we let you go. When you get a chance to go back to maybe the roots and get to talk to some of those young kids, whether they're at academies or just games that you get to see, and they're wanting some advice, some words of wisdom from somebody who's been through it, and with the benefit of 20/20 hindsight, what's that one piece of advice or those words of wisdom you like to impart upon them?
I just take it one day at a time. I think for me, that full circle moment for me was, I wish I enjoyed some days before that a little bit more. You don't really miss it till it's gone. So I think just being grateful for the opportunity. Doesn't matter really how the game went. If you're able to step on the field and just enjoy it, that's the biggest thing. But just be grateful for the opportunity. Only thing you can ask for is an opportunity. And, just take full advantage of it. Don't take that stuff for granted.
Absolutely. And the final one, what's the game of baseball mean to you, Jack?
I think it's just an opportunity to play a kid's game. I think that's a good question, man. I haven't really thought about that. I don't think baseball is everything I am, for sure. But I'm just super thankful to be able to play it, and I've definitely met and been around some great individuals, and I'm thankful for those people and just what it's given me and the platform that I'm able to reach people on nowadays, and hopefully spread something more than just baseball.
Absolutely. Well, an absolute pleasure getting a chance to get to hear a little bit about your story, Jack. Congrats on getting drafted. Congrats on all the success you've had at this point. Continued success in Tampa Bay and beyond in 2025 and beyond. And again, thanks so much for joining us here on the show.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you guys having me.
Thanks again to Hudson Kozicki, Braxton Bussing, and Jack Lyons for joining us this week, and thanks to all of you for downloading and listening. If you like this or any other episode, make sure to leave us a rating and review, as those actions help spread the word about ADS. We are planning to continue weekly episodes through November and even into part of December as well, so now's the time to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any of the great conversations coming up. A tip of the cap, as always, to our Platinum supporters, the Okotoks Dogs, Under the Lights Sports and Entertainment, and the Western Canadian Baseball League for their generosity in helping us tell the game's stories in our province. It helps us cover costs like web hosting fees, travel, and online subscription services. For more on our amazing teammates, head to albertadugoutstories.com/supporters. Until next time, thank you for all of your support online, on social, and on air of Alberta Dugout Stories.